No one aspires to experience homelessness. Everyone undergoes challenging times in life, and I recognize that many have encountered periods marked by financial difficulties. Homeless individuals often remain unnoticed by the majority of us. We either avoid acknowledging their presence or simply fail to see them. Being noticed holds significant meaning for them. After all, we're all human beings, and as such, deserve equal respect and value. This poignant story serves as an invitation to place trust in the inherent goodness of people. It suggests that, at times, despite the difficulty in accepting, certain events are destined to occur to impart valuable lessons and reveal possibilities we might never have deemed conceivable. Our story takes place in April 2022, at which time 34-year-old Frenchwoman Karine Gambeau was visiting New York with her husband Matisse and their son Jules, just 8 years old. The trip to the Big Apple was something the family had been preparing for months and had been looking forward to. However, it was impossible to imagine that a family trip whose sole purpose was to spend time together and sightseeing in one of the most important cities in the world would end up turning into an amazing and unforgettable story that everyone would end up talking about. But before going into details, we need a little context. As we've said, the young economist Karine Gambeau had decided to take a family vacation in New York. Karine was working very hard, and that barely allowed her to spend time with her husband and her 8-year-old son, something that made her very sad and something she was trying to remedy. So when her boss asked her if she wanted to use the week's vacation that the company owed her for all the overtime she had worked, she agreed without hesitation and quickly called her husband to plan a trip for the three of them. "We need to spend more time together. You always complain that I see my boss more than my son. Well, now is the time. Come on, honey, tell me yes. You've always wanted to go to New York and see the Empire State Building, Central Park, and eat one of those delicious hot dogs right on the street. Come on, say yes, please," his wife begged on the other end of the phone. All right. When you get like that, it's impossible to say no. We'll go. But I'm warning you, honey, a trip to the Big Apple at this time of year, and with so little planning, it won't be cheap. Are you willing to go to such great expense?" Matisse knew how thrifty his wife was, and before taking the risk of making such a decision, he had to make sure that his wife was completely sure of what she wanted. "Matisse, my love, why do I spend half my life working in an office if not to be able to enjoy time with my family and sightseeing? Of course we will go. I don't care if it's expensive. We deserve it. Money is not everything, love. You always tell me that to convince me not to go to work when they call me on Saturdays. Well, now I'm saying it to you. We're lucky enough to be able to decide how to spend the money we earn. Others are not. Let's take this trip and enjoy life. You never know when things might change," said Karine to her husband, totally determined. In her voice, you could feel the enthusiasm she felt for this trip. A week later, Matisse, Karine, and little Jules were flying from Paris to New York on a 12-hour direct flight. The couple had decided to spare no expense, as they had hardly traveled in recent years and had accumulated a lot of savings, and had booked a beautiful honeymoon suite in one of the best hotels in the city. "Wow, Mom, this place is huge! Where are we going to go first? I can't wait to take a picture with the Statue of Liberty. We are going, aren't we?" asked little Jules to his mother shortly after dropping off his luggage at the hotel and starting to wander the streets of New York. Karine's son was really excited about the trip. Between COVID and his parents' overwork, especially on his mother's side, the little boy had barely seen the world, and this was the first time he had traveled so far and visited such a big city. Everything he saw seemed to amaze him. "Little by little, honey. We have 7 days to see it all. You'll have time to take all the pictures you want, okay? Now let's go downtown. I can't wait to have a giant cup of coffee and one of those donuts that are always in the movies," Karine told him, trying to appease his desire to visit every corner of the city in the shortest time possible. Although the truth is that she was just as eager as her son to walk around that magnificent city. "Coffee and scones, let's go! Come on, New York awaits us!" Matisse shouted as he ran up the street ahead of them, camera in hand. The Gambeau family enjoyed their vacation to the fullest and visited each one of New York City's most famous landmarks. Every day was a new adventure, And although they would have liked the city to be a little less chaotic and dirty, they were loving it and were not looking forward to packing their bags and catching a plane back to France. "We only have 2 days left here. What a pity! Now that we're here, so far away from the chaos of work and the calls from my annoying boss, I realize how much we needed this vacation. Forgive me, honey. I should have asked for my vacation week much earlier," said Karine to her husband with a certain tone of guilt, as they prepared to spend their penultimate day in the city. "You don't have to blame yourself for everything, honey. I work a lot too and have also postponed vacations. We're both a little guilty for having spent so little time as a family. But now we're here, in this wonderful corner of the world, and our son is happy. It was worth the wait, don't you think?" said her husband with tenderness, while caressing her cheek and giving her a look full of love and complicity. "If you look at me like that, it's all worth it. I love you very much, my love. Thank you for being so understanding." That day, the French family decided to do something very common among tourists in the city: stroll through Central Park and eat a hot dog while contemplating the scenery. It was a calm and sunny day. The temperature was ideal for being outdoors, so they decided to spend the whole day outside and look for some well-known place where it was worth having dinner, instead of going back and having dinner at the hotel restaurant. "Is there anything typical about New York that we haven't had yet?" Karine asked her husband and son as they strolled down a street away from downtown. "Pizza! My God, we've been in the city for 6 days and we still haven't had New York pizza. We must. Let's go find some pizza places, and this way. This city is full of good places to eat homemade pizza," exclaimed Karine's husband, holding his hands to his head. "You're right, Dad! Pizza! I love that idea!" said his son excitedly as he started looking for a pizza place along the street they were walking down. They didn't have to look far. Just 200 meters from where they were, there was a small pizzeria with a big, bright sign that read, "Luigi's Pizzeria, the best pizza in New York." They were starving, and as soon as they saw the sign for the pizzeria, they went inside to dine on a delicious, giant margarita pizza that they couldn't finish. "You can take the leftovers home if you wish. Here, the restaurant has its own bags for customers to take the food away, and nothing is wasted," the waiter of the pizzeria told them kindly, seeing that there was still a slice of pizza on the table. Karine accepted the bag gladly, as she was totally against wasting food, and after paying the bill, they went back to the street for a walk and headed to the hotel. It was a sparsely populated neighborhood. There were a few homeless people across the street, but they posed no threat. After all, New York was not the only big city with homeless people on the streets. Paris had them too, a fact that contrasted with the luxury and beauty of what everyone considered to be the city of love. So when the couple realized they were in one of the city's poor neighborhoods, they did not panic and continued their stroll as normal. However, as they were about to turn down the street and enter a much more touristy and crowded area, Karine noticed that one of the homeless men she had seen earlier was now rummaging through the garbage cans. He looked terrible, and Karine felt very sorry for him. "Honey, is everything all right?" asked her husband, intrigued to see that his wife was not following them. "Everything is fine. I just need to do something. Give me a moment, Matisse. Stay here with the child. I'll be right back," said the woman as she crossed the street and headed towards the homeless man rummaging through the garbage. Gambo remembered that she was carrying the leftover pizza in the bag and decided to give it to him. She thought he looked hungry and could use something to eat, even if it was cold. She walked over to him and, without a second thought, offered him his pizza. "I'm sorry, sir, I don't have anything better to offer you, but the pizza is cold," she said to the man with embarrassment as she held out the bag with the leftovers from dinner inside. The man looked at her and gave her a big smile. It didn't seem to bother him in the least if the food was cold. "Thank you so much. I haven't eaten anything all day. I'm sure this slice of pizza will be exquisite," the homeless man said to her as he glanced at the slice of margarita pizza Karine had given him. The man's clothes were in very bad condition. His hair was dirty and disheveled, but there was no misery on his face. His eyes were full of light, and the smile he gave her was not that of a person who had lost hope. Karine stared at him as he walked away, and then returned to her husband and son, who were waiting for her across the street. Karine and the tramp went their separate ways, and she never thought about the incident again. It was impossible to know what would happen a few hours later. The next day, an employee of the hotel where she was staying approached her with a newspaper in her hand. In it was a picture of Karine with the homeless man. Confused and shocked, she read the headline and saw the name Richard Gere, the Hollywood star himself. She couldn't believe it. The actor was preparing for the movie Time Out of Mind, in which he plays a homeless man. To get into character, he spent an afternoon disguised as a homeless man on the streets of New York, wrote Today. Richard Gere is a hell of an actor. He looked like a random homeless guy on the street. No one paid him any attention all day, except Karine. She was a complete stranger who happened to see him perform. It's a very sweet story, Gere's publicists told Today. Suddenly, Karine was on almost every front page of every major newspaper in the country. And in a short time, she also became an international news story. Luckily, it was a momentary fame that she never sought, but that she achieved by doing what, apparently, no one else was able to do: help a person who had lost everything. Of course, Karine and the actor never saw each other again, but the way life made them coincide is still a beautiful anecdote that they will never forget. Karine is a genuinely kind human being whose act of kindness and compassion has been recognized in the best possible way. She is a great example of the potential of humanity. Did you like this touching and surprising story? If so, we invite you to leave us a comment expressing your opinion. If you want to continue enjoying inspiring stories like this one, subscribe to our channel or check out the other videos shown at the bottom of the screen. Thank you for your cooperation.